This week's channeled message from the angels is giving us a much deeper understanding of what the shift in consciousness is all about. It is about really us developing a sixth sense, which is more powerful than our five senses. And having that sixth sense gives us a divine perspective, connects us much more deeply to our divinity. And by doing that, we develop self-love, which then helps us to love one another. And the goal is for us to bring that love to the earth, to create a new reality that's based in love for one another. So welcome back to my channel, you guys. This is a great message. I'm really excited that you guys are here to share it with me, to help hold this energy, because it becomes more amazing as we share it together, which is perfect understanding what the goal of this message is. So, and for those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Ann Tucker. I'm a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm, and I do that by, I go into a deep meditative state or trance. I raise my awareness up as high as I can go. I go a little higher. I connect, and then messages, information, and healing come through, and I share it here with you guys on YouTube. So as I was saying, this week's message is I'm calling it creating heaven on earth, because this is sort of our idea of what heaven on earth would be, a world where everyone is cared for, right? Where there's enough for everyone. And this is how we create it. And it really would never happen unless we changed. We have to change. It has to be really an exhaustion of all of the systems that are holding us in our current reality, and the creation of a brand new reality. So it is literally that big. That's how big this shift is going to be, has been already, and there's a lot more to come. So anyways, beautiful message. I wanted to thank everybody so much for voting on the format. Last week I did, for the first time, I included the original recording of the channeling. So I usually do the channeling the day before, and I just do it by myself. But I do keep an audio recording, because that's how I make sure I get it transcribed accurately. And last week I included that recording, and everybody seemed to really like it. Most everybody did. So I'm going to do it that way as often as I can. I'm going to do it that way going forward. So I have this week's message. I actually channeled this one this morning, so my voice sounds a little sleepy in the beginning, but it's still there. It's still happening. So, and you will feel their energy. It's a like I said, it's a beautiful transmission today. So, all right, you guys, last thing I wanted to let you know, if you would still like to be part of Soul Convergence, which is my 11-week healing program. It's really about balancing the masculine and feminine energies within you, and helping you get to a state of self-love. That program is a prerequisite for my summer program, which is going to be about activating your spiritual gifts. So you still have enough time if you would like to join Soul Convergence. Now, this is really the final week. We're going to close it on Tuesday. As long as you join before Tuesday, you will be able to be part of this round of Soul Convergence, and you will be able to take the summer program to activate your gifts. So I will include information down below in the link. So if you have been interested in that, it is not yet too late. You still have time as long as you join before Tuesday, and then you'll get guidance on how to move through. It will be a self-paced program using the recorded sessions. You will get 4 live one-on-one sessions with a dream analyst who's going to help you to understand your progress through the program and to see the healing in action, which is just so incredibly fun. Yeah, it's an amazing way to see your own journey. So, all right, you guys, have a fabulous rest of your weekend, and I hope you enjoy the message.
Bring yourselves to the forefront of anticipation and readiness. Bring yourselves in the following of all that is good and heralded as divine. Have the understanding of all that comes as presence, as divine awareness settled upon yourselves in the watching and caretaking of the eternal spark that you are. We succumb to the powers of awareness that carry us all in the river of awareness that readies you now. We are carried here by the power of the divine to transport us and how we thrive. It carries us to the prow of your vessel to instigate a turn from where you are going, a change of habitation and beingness We are instrumental, divinely guided, brought to you now to aid, to assist, to be there through all that is occurring, to stay with you internal as you undergo this great transformation, to have the understanding of all that is readiness for what transpires, and to draw this to you, to the forefront of your awareness, to help you feel yourselves being blessed in this transformation, to sense within yourself what you are, what you carry, how you have shown yourself to be divine. We instigate what is proprietary to yourselves alone, a great shift underway amongst your own inhabitation while living, to change within the body of one incarnation, to experience and follow through upon the wish and desire that you held before coming, to come into form, to know you are undergoing this change and you are ready. There is no fear to be had within the hands of the Blessed. There is no fear to draw your hearts to close. There is only light in this passage. There is only love to be shown, internal. Externally, there are challenges yet to come. Externally, all will be housed within the time frame of this lifetime as it is unfolding. The carrying through of what was begun is unfolding around you gently and increasingly. Formidably, it will appear upon the horizon as though it would unseat humanity, as though it would draw to a close this era of fortune and bring you forward into an experience of life that is aching with subsistence. And we say, this will not appear for yourselves. This will not be how you experience your own formation. In these times that are coming, the internal vibration that you house becomes louder, takes on new meaning, speaks to you with more force. The energy of your own bodies is changing under the influence of what is transported here. How we have brought you full circle to the place of opportunity where all can unfold internal within. The experience of life is drawn from here, and you are becoming something more of your divinity. And this shall radiate from within. Your spirit shall prevail. You shall not succumb to the experience of suffering and degradation. You shall not succumb should you only fear nothing. Draw yourself into the spirit of your own divinity. Sense yourself being transported into the illumination as it is provided. Know you are rising with the times, not left behind. Know you are coming forward. You are being drawn into the energy that transports you even now, unfolding around you. Shall you experience hardship for some duration? You shall. Shall you know the world in its gyrations of self-discovery? Yes, you shall see unfolding a great new powerful dynamic of interdependence and reliance upon each other. A powerful new experience of being human within which all shall find one another well. And this forms the foundation of your own well-being. It is a new time, and in the unraveling, there is much to share and be revealed. And we say, you shall find these changings to be self-directed from within your own self. The choices that you make, the friendships, the bonds that tie you there, these become the way showers, the ways you herald as bringing about your own internal transformation, the love that binds you together as one species, as one generative aspect of this world that creates the divine in all that you share between you. Do not fear, we say. It shall not prevent you from aligning with this new frequency, but it is not necessary to be afraid. There is nothing to fear but the sensation of limitation inspired by fear. For you are endless. You are all things divine, brought into form. The world that surrounds you now speaks to your purpose in its own unfolding. You are the creator in the physical. And fear settles upon your brow and constrains your vision. It limits you where limitation does no good. It limits you and forges into form what you would rather not see. Thus we say, fear can be left behind. And know yourselves held in the palms of surrender to a God of love who cherishes your existence. Know you are held as sacred and sacred beings. Know you are brought into form for purpose, for love to transpire between and among you. And this you shall forge through your choices and your actions, through your thoughts and emotions. You create divinity within the bonds of strength between you. The love that transpires, the hearts that shall grow, this is where we settle our touch and celebration. Blessings.
All right. So beautiful message, you guys. And to me, I think each time they speak with us, I feel like they add a little bit more clarity about what is happening. They give us a slightly better understanding of what all this is. And I feel like they talk about fear, right? And they talk about some of the events that are coming. And I think what they're really trying to say here is that the ultimate goal we're trying to get to is this understanding of a new way of being, which is unity consciousness, but even more so, it's about our relationship with one another. And it sounds so mundane and so simple that it's like, love thy neighbor. Like, remember that one? Love thy neighbor. Like, yeah, we are meant to grow into this new consciousness because we become interreliant and interdependent and supportive of one another and loving of one another. And like, that's the new expression. That's what humanity becomes. So rather than everyone as an island where we have been, and I think this really relates back to like an insight that I had from one of our past sessions, I think it was one of the Soul Convergence sessions, where they showed us our entry into physical form. And they showed us what it's like as you go, like when we are on the other side, where we are ourselves, but we are connected to everything. And we have this sense that all of us incorporates everything around us, right? That's what it's like to be non-physical, when we're on the other side and we have so much connection to everything that it feels like we are everything, and we're not limited to what's inside. There is no body, right? So we are everything, and we're connected to everything. So when we come into physical form, we are used to finding ourselves outside of ourselves. We're used to looking out into what's around us and saying, I am all of this. But all of a sudden we're not. We're locked into this inside the skin. We're locked inside. But we keep looking outside, trying to find ourselves, because that's where we used to be. And so this process of waking up is the process of turning around and recognizing that the only way back to connection is by coming back to the only piece of divinity that's left, which is the spark inside of us. So we have to go from trying to find divinity outside to turning around and finding divinity in the only place that we still can find it, which is inside. So we come back to the spark of divinity that the angels are guarding. That's what they're doing for us. They are guarding our spark of divinity. That's why we have angels inside of us. That's our divine spark. And we go back to that spark. And from that, we wind our way through and out back to the connection to the all that is. So it's like from outside in to inside out. And it literally mirrors masculine to feminine, feminine to masculine. Like everything is speaking the same exact language. It's just repeating it in a different form, in a different way. But in this case, as we go from the inside out, we come back to loving ourselves, accepting ourselves, seeing us as perfect, right? Seeing all that we are as legitimate and able to be seen, and trusting others to see it. And as we get to that space that we love ourselves, we're willing to open our hearts, right? And to recognize we're worthy of love. When we love ourselves, we believe we are worthy of love. We open our hearts, and as we open our hearts, we can love one another. And so this is the process back to the out. From the inside back to the out. We start with self-love, with healing ourselves. All the things we don't want to see about ourselves, we have to heal all that, right? All the places we are pushing down our fears and our regrets and our shame and all the things that we wish we weren't. And we have to let all those up to love them, right? Love them and recognize that that experience was exactly perfect in whatever way it formed us. And then from that space of self-love, we open our hearts and we are able to love everybody else and able to feel love. And that's the relationship part. So that's what they're saying we're going. The new state of consciousness is about connecting to one another. It's unity consciousness, but then it's not just something we do out there, which I think is one of the ways that we think about it. We're like, we're just going to be connected in the astral, and we can still only talk to the people we like. You know what I mean? And it's not that. It is like we connect here, like on the earth, you know, like here in the earth plane. We're meant to have like an actual experience of sharing and love with one another. And they're saying that we create it. So it doesn't mean that you have to go out and love people who are not loving in return. That's not what they're saying. They're saying that you will manifest from that divine expression inside of you. You will manifest beauty and you will manifest love. And I see that I froze there again for a second. Sorry about that, you guys. I will work on that and figure out how to make it better. But yeah, so this is, does that make sense as I'm saying it? So I think this really is the next layer of the puzzle. They've talked about unity consciousness. They've talked about self-love, but here they wrap it all together and say, okay, great. That's the concept. Let's now bring it home and say we're going to do it by loving each other here on this plane, like here on earth. Like it's the whole concept of heaven on earth, you know, that we talk about. Like it is where we care about others as much as we care about ourselves, you know? Yeah, we are fragments of one divine. Yes, thank you. Exactly. So cool. And Amina says, this is the soul convergence hallmark. Each time connecting to us, to the one and the all, accepting all parts of us and loving them. The best program ever. Thank you, Amina. You're so right. That is the whole reason for soul convergence. It is about really bringing up all aspects of ourself and integrating them into self-love. Yeah, it's gorgeous. And M says, you are speaking my language here. Love it. Awesome. I love it. So angels inside, like intel inside. You're right. We need a little song. Boo, 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 boo. Angels inside. So yeah. And then Sisha says, absolutely, connection to amazing people are most valuable. It is all about connections and relationships we build. Yes, absolutely. So let's go ahead and break down paragraph by paragraph and go into it together. And here's, let's look at the first one. So I'll read each paragraph in full, and then we'll talk about any extra meaning that we can find from it by taking a little bit more time with it. So first paragraph, they say, bring yourselves to the forefront of anticipation and readiness. Bring yourselves in the following of all that is good and heralded as divine. Have the understanding of all that comes as presence, as divine awareness settled upon yourselves, and the watching and caretaking of the eternal spark that you are. So a lot of times in the first paragraph, they give us a big indicator of like, this is what the whole message is about. And so in this one, they're talking about, they want us to be in anticipation and readiness. In other words, no fear. So I think they're really touching on this idea that we're not meant to have fear of this process. And in fact, fear, if we're in fear, we're manifesting from fear. So that really, they said before, the only way that we can close ourselves off from the light that's coming is if we reject it because we're afraid of it and because we're trying to get back to the way things used to be. So if we are in resistance, because we always have free will. So if we are in resistance, then we won't let it in. But it's a choice. We always have choice. And so it's literally all we have to do is choose it, is say yes. And that then they say, and I think this is an important part of the message, is they're saying, I know that when they're talking about some of the scarier things, it's hard not to have fear. But what they're saying is that at the same time that these scary things are happening, there's going to be something physiological that happens to us that changes us, that makes it easier for us to have no fear. So, and they touch on that here, like 5 paragraphs down. They talk about there will be a physical change that's coming because of all this light that's hitting the planet. So, and they say that the internal spark inside of us gets louder. So like right now where it's sometimes hard to hear because we're more focused on sort of like, okay, wait a minute, like I'm concerned about my physical reality. All of a sudden the 5 senses, and they've said this, oh my gosh, I just remembered this. They said this in some of our past messages. They have said that the 5 senses become quieter and our 6th sense gets louder. So this now, I'm just making this connection as we're talking about it, that this is part of how we overcome our fear. That the 6th sense gets louder and the 5 senses get quieter. So the 5 senses are that sort of animalistic nature that tells us to run away from things that are hot, that tells us to run away from things that are scary. And our 6th sense is the thing that says, this is an aspect of the divine and we are going to be fine. Right. So it really is, there's layers of this every day, every week. They give us another piece and they kind of stitch it all together, which I just love. I love it. So yeah. And Debbie says, I send out my love and my light big and strong. For some people, it is a bit much, bit overwhelming. I do love myself, which is a foundation for connection and love everywhere. I love that. Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not too much. We love it. Susha says, there are no true competition. Help others, help ourselves. Absolutely. Internal spark. Yes. Teresa says, right. Like having an old body, physically able. Yeah. And then Debbie says, I am manifesting a phenomenal new life for myself and I have little to no fear. Bring it in. I love it. Yeah. So here it is. Be in anticipation in the sense that they mean to have no fear, to be in readiness, to know you are ready. And they say, bring yourselves in the following of all that is good. So understanding that everything that's coming is divine, that all that comes is presence. So, and they said that down here lower, that we're being basically like they say, divine awareness is settled upon yourselves. So everything that's happening is under the influence, is like impregnated with divinity. The divine awareness is, and that's what's causing all of this shift. So, so they're telling us all this is like, there's nothing to fear, right? And then there's a watching and caretaking of the eternal spark. So that is the role of the angels, is to caretake our eternal spark. So then they go on to talk about themselves. And they talk about their role in this big shift. So they say we, meaning the angels, we succumb to the powers of awareness that carry us all in the river of awareness that readies you now. We are carried here by the power of the divine to transport us and how we thrive. It carries us to the prow of your vessel to instigate a turn from where you are going, a change of habitation and beingness. And so I love that idea that the angels are agents or messengers of the divine, but what they bring in terms of as a messengers, they bring divine awareness. So it's almost like they shine awareness on whatever it is. Like if you say a prayer to the angels, the way that it gets heard is the angels come and they bring awareness. They bring divine awareness to that prayer. And so the energy of the universe comes to your assistance and the energy of the divine comes to your assistance because the angels bring that divine awareness. It's like shining a light on it, on your prayer, on what it is that you're asking for or on you. And so, but they refer to it as a river. And I think this is really cool because there are energies that are coming to the planet right now that are like a river, right? A river of light that's literally coming to the planet. And so they're saying that that's like awareness, that light is aware. All light in the universe is awareness. And so that's a river that's coming to us right now, right? And they say they are carried here by that divine awareness, right? And they're saying it carries them, it transports them, and how they thrive. So like, what is their mission? And they say that it carries them to the prow, which is like the front of our boat, the front of where are we headed? What is the lifetime that we are in? They are ready to turn that boat, like ready to change us into a new direction. And they say that it is, a change of our habitation and our beingness. Our habitation is like how it's literally like the structure of our life and our way of being physical in the world. And here's how they're going to do it. So they're here to change it, to help us change. And here is how. They go on next paragraph. They say, we are instrumental, divinely guided, brought to you now to aid, to assist, to be there through all that is occurring, to stay with you internal as you undergo this great transformation, to have the understanding of all that is readiness for what transpires, and to draw this to you, to the forefront of your awareness, to help you feel yourselves being blessed in this transformation, to sense within yourself what you are, what you carry, how you have shown yourself to be divine. So they're saying that in this paragraph, yes, they are definitely playing a very important role. And my understanding of their role from this paragraph is they're saying they are inside of us, they're internal, and that as we undergo the great transformation that we're going through, they help us they bring to the forefront this understanding of ourselves as divine, right? To have the understanding of all that is readiness, that you are ready for the change. So they're going to bring this awareness that like, hey, you are already there. They've been telling us that, right? You are already there. You've already made it. You've got this nailed, right? You're not going to mess this up. And to bring that to the forefront of our awareness, it's reassurance. It's bringing us back to the awareness of our divinity, right? All of this is there. And they speak to us, as we talked about this before, in whispers, like in those moments when you're feeling low and you get that all of a sudden it's like a breath of fresh air comes in and you realize, well, wait a minute, maybe there's a way out. That's that angelic whisper speaking to you, bringing up a new way of seeing things. So they bring things to our awareness. That's how the angels help us. And part of what they're bringing to our awareness is the belief, the understanding that we are ready for this, that it's not going to overwhelm us, that we're going to be okay. Right? And so that we feel blessed in this transformation, right? To sense within yourself what you are, like this is what they're helping us to understand, what we are, what we carry, which is a spark of the divine, right? How have you shown yourself to be divine? So yes, you are divine, you carry divine spark, and you are existing as a divine being on earth. That's what they're there to show us. Yeah. Next paragraph, they say, we instigate what is proprietary to yourselves alone, a great shift underway amongst your own inhabitation while living. So in other words, we are the only ones who experience this change while alive, to go through such a massive transformation while actually incarnated. And they go on to say, to change within the body of one incarnation, to experience and follow through upon the wish and desire that you held before coming, to come into form, to know you are undergoing this change and you are ready. So how many times in every paragraph they keep saying, you are ready, you are ready, you are ready. So that's like, maybe that should be the title of the message, you are ready, because they keep saying that over and over again here. And they go on next paragraph, they say, and this is when they go into the part about fear and why we should have no fear. They say, there's no fear to be had within the hands of the blessed. There's no fear to draw your hearts to close. There's only light in this passage. There's only love to be shown internal. And so what I really like about this is they mention each paragraph, each sentence they say is always full of meaning. And they said before that we would be held in the hands of the divine, right? So here it is. There's no fear to be had within the hands of the blessed. So what I like about this is it's a reference back to when they said that we were held by God. But then who are the blessed? We are. And it's in our hands. So they're saying, in one sentence, they're saying we are the divine because we are also hands, right? That we are in the hands of God and we are also the hands. So we're both. And then we are also the creator on earth. So, and we are blessed. So it's like, it's repeating, like from our hands we create. And then the creator, we are in the hands of him and we are all blessed. So it's kind of layers there, right? And they go on to say there's no fear to draw your hearts to a close. So important here, what does fear do? It closes our hearts. So without saying it in a negative way, they're saying it in a positive way, but they're telling us, how do our hearts close? Fear, right? Fear does it. Fear is how we close our hearts, and we close our hearts to each other, right? So that, and when our hearts are closed, no love can get in. And I understand this deeply because my heart was closed, for the huge first part of my whole life, my heart was closed, and I could not access my emotions. I couldn't really understand or feel what love is. I couldn't feel loved because my heart was closed. And I had to go through a whole process in my awakening and my own soul growth of learning how to feel my emotions again, to understand and to understand it was safe to let my emotions come up and that I could process them in real time and then be lighter and be freer. But that is where the fear of whatever it was that happened to you that was real in your experience. And it could happen to you in the womb. It can happen to you at birth. It can happen to you in your childhood. Maybe you felt rejected. Maybe you felt unloved. Maybe you felt unwelcome, whatever that is. But we come in and we fear that hurt so much. We fear we're going to hurt it. We're going to feel it again. And so we close up the heart and we're like, well, I'm good by myself. Like, I don't need any of that, and we close off, but then we can't feel love. So it's really a journey back to that inner source, back to that inner divine spark so that we can connect with one another again. That's why we have to turn around, right? Turn around and go back in. And I love that they say there was only light in this passage. So so in other words, there's nothing external, everything around us is presence. Everything around us is love. And anything that manifests as negative is manifesting from our fear. So the only thing around you is love. So the only thing we have to fear is the fear that is inside of us that is creating something we would rather not see. And they say that here, which is just super cool. There's only love to be shown internal, right? So that's what we're ready to receive, is love of the divine. So then they go on to say, externally, there are challenges yet to come. So they say, despite the fact that this is all in the hands of the divine and this is all blessings and this is all great, yes, there are still going to be challenges. Externally, they say, all will be housed within the time frame of this lifetime as it is unfolding. So in other words, for each of us, we will experience this dramatic shift that we are going to. This is our only life that we will be experiencing this dramatic shift. So when we come back to earth the next time, we will not be, if we come back to earth the next time, if we choose to, because some of you are probably in your last year on earth, and then maybe you choose to incarnate again, maybe you don't, right? You have to see how that goes for your soul. But if you choose to come back to earth again, it will be in this new state of consciousness. So the transition is happening in this lifetime for each of us. And then they say, the carry-through of what was begun is unfolding around you gently and increasingly. And then they say, formidably, it will appear upon the horizon as though it would unseat humanity, as though it would draw to a close this era of fortune and bring you forward into an experience of life that is aching with subsistence. And this is a powerful, powerful paragraph here, because I think they're really naming people's fear, which is, it's really a fear about material well-being. Like, we worry about, are we going to be able to feed and clothe and house ourselves? But then I think it gets even deeper than that, is that the ways that we've associated, the things we associate comfort with, which is, do we still have our retirement savings account? Do we still have, is it going to be a thing like these are all very, very now human type worries. And that's, I think, what they're trying to touch on, that we're worried that we're going to be living a subsistence living, hand to mouth, digging in the dirt for food, that kind of a thing. That's our fear. And coming from this era of fortune, where it's been like you go to the grocery store and there's 5 billion different varieties of everything, that there's more than our biggest worry is, how do we not gain weight? At least in many countries, that is the concern. In some countries, I understand that's not the case, but in many cases in the world, it is an issue of overabundance as opposed to underabundance when it comes to the resources that are out there. And so we're worried, and maybe even more so if you have felt yourself in a struggle, if you have felt like, yeah, there's abundance out there, but where's mine? And how, if this gets even worse, where am I going to be? Which is that aching. And it's such a description. It's like aching with subsistence and hardship. That's our fear. So I feel like they're naming it in a really beautiful way, in a compassionate way of trying to meet us exactly where we are, where it's like, if it's bad now, like it's only going to get worse. Like, how am I going to survive that? You know what I mean? And that's what they're touching here. And they go on to say, we say this will not appear for yourselves. So I love that there's like, they are definitive. They're saying like, don't even worry about that. This will not appear. They say this will not be how you experience your own formation. In these times that are coming, and this is why they say it won't be that way. In these times that are coming, the internal vibration, which is that divine spark, the internal vibration you house becomes louder. So this is the reference to the sixth sense, where they're saying the internal vibration, your divine spark, like up until now, it's been pretty darn quiet, to the point where a large portion of humanity does not even hear it, right? Where they're very much focused on just living an earthly existence, and they don't even pay attention to the fact that they are divine, right? But they say in the future, going forward, the internal spark that you house becomes louder, right? To the point that we can't ignore it. It gets loud. They say it takes on new meaning. So not only do we hear it, but we have a better, deeper understanding of ourselves as divine, right? They say it speaks to you with more force. The energy of your own bodies is changing under the influence of what is transported here. So this is that spark, the flash of light. And I think it's more than just the one flash of light. I think there is, ongoing, increasing energies that are coming to the planet that have been gradually lifting us. And then there will be, this big event, this big flash of light that they have said is the moment we will look back on as the moment that changed everything. So there will be a big moment that happens that's like, okay, here is your giant boost. But we've been getting boosted constantly. We've been going, that's why everybody has the ascension symptoms and all that kind of stuff, is we've been going through it this whole time. It's just there will be a great big boost that comes, which they said will happen in the middle of everything else. So yes, it speaks louder. They said it is what is transported here. So in other words, it's coming from elsewhere. It is something that is coming to the planet for us. And they say, how we have brought you full circle to the place of opportunity where all can unfold within. And so by that, when they brought you for circle, it's like a rebirth. We brought you back to a rebirth of yourself into this new energy, right? Into a place of opportunity, and it can unfold internally. So it's like allowing our internal spark to take fire, to become louder, that it becomes our sixth sense that is the thing that overpowers all the other senses. So this idea that we're going to be in the same kind of fear, that we're going to think about the same kind of things, it just doesn't make sense anymore, because we will have this much broader perspective that we probably have a hard time relating to right now. Because at the moment, we're still in our five senses. We're still in the fact that it's like, hey, pain is pain, But when we have this sixth sense, we will have a much deeper understanding of where we are, who we are, how we are, and then most importantly, we will work with our reality from that new consciousness. So we won't be creating from fear anymore. So super important. Let's see what you guys are saying. And you're saying creation and energy flow. Yes, Teresa says like the flow of water and movement. Yes, absolutely. And Becky is so ready, totally. And then here we go. Amina says, I love this idea of divine awareness, a river of light shining on us. So let's think, what parts of your awareness come up for you when that divine light shines on you? Yes, beautiful. What exactly is going to come to the surface? Yeah. And then Teresa says, re-awareness in this lifetime. Yeah, exactly. And to remember. And Amina says, you are ready. They say, I feel the love, trust it, know it, open your hearts. We are ready. Absolutely. M says, I'm still in that process of opening my heart and learning to process my emotions in the moment. So happy to hear how you've come along in your journey. Oh, absolutely. And it is it's hard. I really want to share, like, I have so much compassion for you, for all of you. Like, they know that I'm not the only one that was my escape from the difficulties of my childhood, was to would jump out of my body. Like when things got hard, I would be over there somewhere. And people would say like, wow, you're so calm in crisis. And be like, yeah, because I'm not in my body. I'm over there. Like my body's just doing its thing. And I am not feeling anything. And that's how we cope, and it's sort of like we all have different coping mechanisms. Some people, it's that fight or flight. Some people, they go right into fight and they jump into a conflict and anger comes up, and like, it's a totally different experience. And for them, the emotions might be right on the surface, but they might be living in anger. And the hard thing about anger is that anger is like a lid. And all the deeper emotions are underneath the anger. So you have to lift off the anger to get to the shame and the guilt and the stuff that we collect as kids. So we all have a different journey we have to go through. For some of us, we can't feel anything. Some of us, we feel everything, and a lot of it is hidden by anger. So and there's other things too. There's other ways. But yeah, it is really, really hard to relearn what feelings are. And there's techniques that we have, and there's a beautiful meditation, a free one on YouTube, a healing from the angels, which will help you guide you through a self-healing process, which helps you to kind of identify your feelings like a color and to find them in the body. And it gives you some tools you can use if you have a hard time feeling your feelings. And I will find that and put it in the links, the description box below, if that's helpful for you. So in the comments. So here we go. And then Shisu says, when can we stop paying income tax that goes to, oh, that's a tough one. You know, it's hard to say, like, what will our government look like going forward? The angels have told us that the U.S. will split apart. I know that in the long run, that we are meant to get to a place where there are not boundaries and borders between people, that we're meant to get to a place where the world's resources are shared in an equal way, where and it's not like a state of, like, I don't think there is any government model that we could look to today and say it's going to be like that. I don't think it's that, because the fundamental underlying principle is that we move from a state where we think about what's mine as a country or as a peoples to a state where we think about everybody as one, you know? And so it's like one big country, and then there might be separation in terms of like cultural separation, you know, in terms of these are our practices and these are your practices, or there might be separation in terms of identity, cultural identity. I don't know, but I do know that in the long run, we're meant to get to a state where we're united by love, right? Where all people are considered, and no one is allowed to starve when someone else has too much. Like, that's the thing that's got to be fixed, right? So that's where we're meant to get headed toward. And and they've said it'll be a deep unraveling of the world, of the system, of the way it is today, in order to let that happen. That the current structures of our world don't allow that. So they got to go. So I'm not sure exactly how all that happens. I know that like in terms of the US, I think is one of the early pins to fall. And so, and I think it's, like I said, that they have said that it won't be the United States in the same way that it's always been. And that could happen very soon. That could happen this year. We've got a crazy election coming up. So it could be around the election that we have some massive change. I don't know. So, but I think they're really trying to get us to not worry about the time, to not worry, period. And to not even think about, like, they want to tell us this stuff. So then when it happens, we're just like, oh yeah, I knew that was coming, that it doesn't catch us flat-footed. And we just roll with it. And we just continue that. What they want us to do, our action step, is to continue to invest in our lives as though we will continue forward, because we will. And the energy, even if we're investing in something that goes away, the energy that we're putting out there will continue forward. That we as creative beings will be in the practice of exerting energy in that direction. And we will create with what's in front of us. So we will create our new reality from that space. So that's our to do. They want us to know what's coming. They're not that worried about when. I think they have a timeline, but they don't tell me. They rarely give me timeline details. And I think it's because they don't want me to focus on it. So they want me to say, just keep at it, keep working, keep doing what you're doing. All right. So here we are. Let's go back into what they're saying. Okay. And so then they say, no, you are coming forward. You are brawn. Where is this? I have lost my place, you guys. I don't know where I was. So I'm going to start up here. The experience of life is being drawn from here. And this is why I ended with a rebirth, and all can unfold internal. The experience of life is drawn from here, and you are becoming something more of your divinity. This shall radiate from within. Your spirit shall prevail. You shall not succumb to the experience of suffering and degradation. You shall not succumb. Should you only fear nothing. And that, I think, is going to make people pause. Like, wait a minute, you mean if I'm afraid, I'm going to succumb to fear and degradation? And the reason they say that is there is no chance that you will miss this flash of light. But if we are in fear, we are creating from fear. And that is why they say that. But they're saying also, at the same time that they say that we are going to be experiencing higher and higher frequencies, which are going to activate our sixth sense, which will make it easier for us to get out of fear. So if you feel fear now, don't judge yourself. If you feel fear now, don't worry that that means you're going to be left behind, because you won't, because you will be moving into higher and higher states of consciousness where you have access to awarenesses that makes it easier to not be in fear. So, so that's why they're saying here, should you only fear nothing? And the understanding is it's not a judgment about your fear. It's that we will always have free choice. We will always be creators. So I think it is an understanding that they have to help us to come out of our fear. They have to help us with these big boosts of energy so that we can move out of a fear state when there's things that are naturally scary that might be on the docket here. So then they go on to say, draw yourself into the spirit of your own divinity. Sense yourself being transported into the illumination as it is provided. So see, they talk about this right after talking about the fear. Allow yourself to be drawn into the illumination. That's how we're going to get out of our fear. As it is provided, they say, know you are rising with the times, not left behind. So this is exactly what they're saying. They're answering that concern. Say, know you are rising with the times, that you are being lifted. And as you are lifted, you will find yourself less and less and less fearful. And then they go on to say, know you are coming forward. You are being drawn into the energy that transports you even now, unfolding around. Shall you experience hardship for some duration? You shall. Shall you know the world in its gyrations of self-discovery? Yes. So they are telling us, yep, they're not sugarcoating it, that we know there's going to be some major events. They've talked about the earth rift. They've talked about, economic crisis. They've talked about political crisis. They've talked about like basically all the institutions of our world. And they've said that it is an energy of exhaustion, that it isn't like a little whoop and you're better again, because then they would just come back again. And the power structures, the way that it kind of works that we have seen, like look at in the past, like economic, when we had banking crises in the US in the past, when we had like the crash of 2007, and how the first people that get taken care of are the big banks, right? The people who hold the power get taken care of first, and then they take care of everybody else. And so if there's any part of them left, they will collect as much of the current resources as are available to help themselves before everybody else gets helped. And so basically those energies, those organizations, those structures have to be taken down to exhaustion, or they will just gather up everything that's left for themselves. So that's the idea. And they've talked about this energy of exhaustion in past messages. And they've talked about it's an energy on the planet, that it's everywhere. And we can see it in the way that a lot of today's experiences are forming, that they are things that level blocks, that level cities. It's like the fires of Maui, like leveling, right? The bombings, they level a city block. It's like it is not a thing that leaves things standing. And that is on purpose, because we have to take all these structures and institutions down to zero, so that they don't reform themselves and just keep things the way they are, because they're powerful. They go on to say, you shall see unfolding a great new powerful dynamic of interdependence and reliance upon each other, a powerful new experience of being human, within which all shall find one another well, and this forms the foundation of your own well-being. And this, I think, is like one of the most important paragraphs or phrases in this whole message, because they're saying that yes, and it's right in the same structure here as they're talking about bringing everything down to zero, that hardship and the world unraveling. And what this does is, yes, it helps to take apart the institutions and the organizations and the structures that would hold us in place. It takes that down to zero so it can't anymore. And then from that ground zero, we turn to one another and we build a new reality. Once we have, and remember, at the same time as all this destruction is happening, we're getting the flash of light. It happens in the middle of everything else. So the structures are being taken apart. We are up leveling, getting this new state of consciousness, this sixth sense that allows us to perceive in a new way, that allows us to not feel the fear, because we're not as in, like our five senses are not nearly as present, and they don't carry nearly as much information as our sixth sense. So we start to see things from a divine perspective. And that changes how we manifest and how we create our world, right? So what that does is it creates love between us, and we learn to turn to one another, right? And so they say this powerful new experience of being human, it changes how we are, what humanity is. And then from within this new powerful way of being, we find one another well, and that is how we are well. that it's like, if you are okay, I'm okay. So I'm going to make sure everybody is okay. And by doing that, I'm also okay. And that's the new way of being. So we start to build society in a really different way. And that's what they're describing here. They go on to say in the next paragraph, it is a new time. And in the unraveling, there's much to share and be revealed. We say you shall find these changes to be self-directed from within your own self. So that is the divine spark within us. And they're talking about how, and remember how they talked about our palms and how they talked about God's, we are in God's palms, and then we are the palms. We are the creators. So we are creating our reality from this new higher state of consciousness. And so it's self-directed. We are creating the way that humanity will be going forward. And they say the choices you make, the friendships, the bonds that tie you there, these become the way showers. So they're saying this is what to focus on, is to focus on how we relate to one another. And I think this is so huge, because being like way into the spiritual journey, loving it myself, like as we head down to the spiritual journey and we're learning about all this stuff and feeling the connection and learning about our spiritual gifts and all this incredible stuff that comes, it's very tempting to want to put yourself into a cave and just be like, I'm just going to be one with God. You know what I mean? I'm just going to be one with Source. I'm just going to meditate for the rest of my life and just be happy in my own space. And that's like, that temptation is there, you know, but they're saying that is not the way, that you will have plenty of time to connect with what's out there after you die. Like after you die, it's all you get. All you get is all that spiritual stuff and your spiritual gifts and your connection to Source and angels. And when you die, that's your full-time existence. So when you're here, they said, now we have work to do that has to be done in living. We got to live. And so they're saying the way shower of the new way of being it's not about being in meditation 24/7. Like, yes, they want us to meditate in order to understand ourselves, and to find that spark within and to find our self-love, so that we can then find the true way showers, which is how we connect and support one another. So think of ourselves in this time as being the rebuilders. And rebuilding has to happen on the earth plane. Like we are meant to be the rebuilders of society, and building it from the perspective of this new higher state of consciousness, the sixth sense that allows us to see the unity consciousness that we're meant to create on earth, heaven on earth, right? Unity consciousness on earth. So they say the ways you herald as bringing about your own internal transformation. That's what it is. So our connection to one another is what changes us inside. So the love that binds you together as one species, as one generative aspect of this world that creates the divine in all that you share between you. So this is like everything that's going to be like if you think about like, what are you going to put your energy towards going forward? And anything that you do that's for the collective, that's with the collective, that's from the perspective of the greatest and highest good for all, that it is going to collect more energy, more divine awareness, more presence. Anything that we do that's for ourselves, that's about selfishness, that's about, I want to get mine and make sure I'm okay and nobody else matters, that is not going to get divine presence. It's not going to have as much support from the universe because it's not in alignment with how we're changing. And so it's really like what they're saying here as one generative aspect of this world that creates the divine in all that you share. So there's more and more divinity in things that are shared. And the generative aspect is referring to ourselves as creators. So it's really telling us like, this is the new way that we will be, and it will become easier. We're not meant to know how to do this right now because we only have some of the tools, and we're still, all of us, our five senses are the loudest things right now. And certainly, like most of you, many of you have tapped into your gifts and feel or experience the presence of the divine in one way or another. You know what I mean? Maybe it's really present for you. Maybe it's just starting to be present. But in any case, imagine if that voice that you feel became so loud, it was louder than your eyesight, louder than your hearing or your smell, that it was the loudest thing you could hear or feel, experience, right? The loudest thing you could experience was that little connection, that little whisper, you know? And how magic that would be. Yeah. They go on to say, do not fear, we say. Fear shall not prevent you from aligning with this new frequency, but it is not necessary to be afraid. There is nothing to fear but the sensation of limitation inspired by fear. For you are endless. You are all things divine brought into form. The world that surrounds you now speaks to your purpose in its own unfolding. You are the creator in the physical. So this is that basically they're saying it in a new way, but the same message, that if we are in fear, we are creating fear in our reality. And then they say there's nothing to fear but the sensation of limitation, because that sensation of limitation creates limitation in our lives, right? But they remind us, you are endless, you are divine, right? The world that surrounds you speaks to your unfolding, that it reflects you, and you are the creator. Yeah, they go on to say, fear settles upon your brow and constrains your vision. It limits you where limitation does no good. I love that phrase. It settles upon your brow and constrains your vision. So it's like a filter that we see through. So if we are fearful, we see the world as scary. And when it's not meant to be scary at all, right? If you are an infinite creator, how could the world be scary? Yeah. And then they go on to say that fear, it limits you and forges into form what you would rather not see. Thus we say fear can be left behind. Know yourselves held in the know yourselves held in the palms of surrender to a God of love who cherishes your existence. That's the part where I was talking about. So before they're talking about us and our palms and manifesting, and then here they use that same metaphor to refer to God. They say that you are held in the palms of surrender to a God of love who cherishes your existence. Know you are held as sacred and sacred beings. And they go on to say, know you are brought into form for purpose, for love to transpire between and among you. So this is like, what is the purpose of humanity going forward? It is to love each other. And it seems like they've been saying this in like every religious text. It's just now it's so much clearer, like what they mean. You know what I mean? It's not like, I think there's huge parts of it that where we're getting clarification. I think for a long time, if we went down this path, that for some of us, we thought it meant self-sacrifice. We thought it meant that I have to go and do a bunch of service in order to do what I'm supposed to be told. Like in order to do this, to love my other people, I have to put aside my own needs and focus on the needs of everyone else. And they're saying that is not the path, that it starts with self-love, that the only way, and it's meant to be a thing where love is shared as an energy that is uniting all of us. So it cannot be one-way giving. It can't be a thing where you just love, 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 and that's all you do. And that you don't let love in, because that is a closed heart. And that comes from the wounding of feeling like you don't deserve to be loved. So we have to get to the space where we love ourselves, where we open up our heart, where we let up all that wounding, all that fear, all that pain, all that distrust of ourselves, distrust of like all the ways that it shows up for us. And that is, for those of you who are in soul convergence, this is the journey that you have been on. And it is a courageous journey because we got to face all that stuff, but it transforms us, right? Releasing that, bringing that up and integrating and realizing that we are divine, that all these aspects, all the things that we think aren't worthy of being seen are in fact divine and they serve a purpose, right? And that you are loved with those things. And as we let those come up, those feelings dissipate and go away. And it's amazing. It's an amazing process. But you can go through that process in a lot of different ways. But the key is to go through it so that we can come to a space where we really feel there's nothing about us. And here's the key, where you feel like there's nothing you have to hide. Where if somebody went through and dug through your dirty laundry, like got into all your business, you would have no regrets. You wouldn't feel in any way embarrassed. There would be nothing about yourself that you're afraid to show, right? That all of you is sacred. All of you is held. All of you is known by God, right? And that is perfectly great. And that's the place we have to get to, that openness. And when we get to that, that is self-love. That's what self-love is, means that there's nothing where you don't feel like you don't need privacy. Because what are you trying? And it's not that I'm saying you don't ever want time by yourself, or that you want to be watched all the time or tracked so that people can sell you things better. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you feel like there's no shame in being you, that you feel totally open. Like anybody could ask you any question. You feel like you could answer them with complete honesty and know that you're going to be treated with love and respect, and that people are going to understand that you are the way you are because of all the amazing experiences and learning you've been through. And so when we get to that space of really accepting and loving ourselves and knowing that our experience has been absolutely intentional and worthy and important, then we are open and we love others and others can love us, right? The more vulnerable, the more open, the more sharing, the more giving, it all happens. It's so cool. So then they go on to say, so we are brought in for our purpose to love, for love to transpire between and among you. And this you shall forge through your choices and your actions. So this is, we have to create the new consciousness through our choices and our actions. We have to make it physical. That's our job, is to become it and then to make it. Yeah, to become, to let that light in, to open ourselves, to love ourselves, and then create that love on the planet through our choices and our actions. Through your thoughts and emotions, you create divinity within the bonds of strength between you. The love that transpires, the hearts that shall grow. This is where we settle our touch and celebration. Blessings. So I really feel like that's the piece that they're putting in here now, is this final piece of, yes, we're meant to have all these amazing spiritual experiences, but then it is our job to take the love that we feel and to create from that love onto this plane of existence and create. It's this concept, like we've heard of it, heaven on earth, but that's what they're talking about. Like, that's the best way I can understand it anyways. Yeah, amazing. And every time I think like, oh, we got it, then they add another layer. Yeah. So let's see what you guys are saying. You're saying, here we are. Oh, let me go a little higher. Document, let me go a little bit higher. Anger, where are you? We can, okay, there we go. Love from Norway. Thank you, Nina. Welcome. Rebecca says, jumping out of my body is my only coping mechanism. Many empaths do that. Absolutely. And I relate to that 100%. And it is tough to stay in and feel the feels, but I think just doing it a little bit at a time until we learn that we don't have anything to fear, that our emotions, that if you let an emotion come up, that it will not overtake you, overwhelm you. It's our resistance to that emotion is what feels so bad. And I know people who are very much in disagreement. He'll be like, oh my gosh, that's not, you're not meant to relive your trauma. And this is interesting because it goes back to the message that we got just the other day, where the angels were telling us that they want us to live in the now and to not dwell in the past. So how does this make sense? How are we supposed to integrate all these past aspects of ourselves if we're not meant to live in the past? And the answer is that all emotion lives in the present. That emotion may have been formed in the past. So you may have wounds that happened when you were in the utero, or when you were born, or in your childhood. Something really bad may have happened to you, and it created an emotion. But that emotion never found an outlet, right? It never felt healed. And so that emotion is still in you, and it's alive today. It's present. The emotion exists in the present moment, and that's the key. So the goal is to recognize that those emotions are in the present moment. And that's why we keep creating them in our reality, right? When you keep wondering, like, why is it that I keep attracting that same type of a partner? Or why is it that I keep running up against this same, obstacle that I can't seem to solve? It's because there's a wound that created an emotion, and that emotion is alive in the present moment. It is part of your soul song. So as you are breathing out into the world, you are creating part of that whole soul song, which contains that emotion. So the goal is to bring those emotions into our awareness, to say, oh, I recognize I have that feeling, and then to honor it, to honor the feeling. And when people feel or fear that emotion will take over their lives, it's not the emotion that takes over. It is our resistance to the emotion. It is the judgment of the emotion, the feeling that it's wrong, the feeling that we shouldn't feel it, the feeling that, right, it is our fear of feeling it. And so we struggle in that resistance. But when we set down the resistance and just let it up just a little bit more, and then finally let it come out and really try to feel it, and then boom, and I can't tell you, I have cleared the most difficult things from my life. I have cleared in this way. The things that people would say, you got to be in therapy for that for 20 years. Like, no, you don't. Like, it's a process of allowing. It's gentle, right? It can be very gentle. So, but it's super, super important. And a certain important part of how we heal. But this idea, getting back to, I can't remember, I think I was on a tangent there, but this idea of how do we cope and heal. And you're saying that jumping out of my body is my only coping mechanism. So that was my coping mechanism too. And it took me a process of learning to feel my feelings, to let them up and let them out. To be able to heal. So then Sandy says, oh yes, anger is a symptom. The truth is underneath. We usually treat symptoms, but it's so important to go deep. You're so right, Sandy. Yeah, thank you so much for writing that. M says balance. Balance internally becomes balance externally. Yes, totally agree with that one. Absolutely. Daria says documentary Zeitgeist moving forward shows what our government and economy can look like if it's based on love. Ooh, that sounds really fun. Thank you for the referral. I'll check that out. Nina says, I really want to create peace in the world. Yes. And it's interesting. Like, I think the term that the angels use for us is harmony. And I think it's because we are meant to to have harmony internal, which is balance, as well as harmony externally. And so harmony, if you think about that like right now we are living in a polarized world, and polarity itself is not a bad thing. But polarity, like every battery is polarized. It has a positive and a negative end. And the human body is like that. We have a positive, and our feet are the negative, right? Grounding into the earth, and our head is the positive, just like a battery. And our energy flows through our system in this sort of donut shape. It's called a toroid, I believe, that goes around and around like this. And it is that charge, the negative to the positive, that keeps the energy flowing, that keeps it moving through us, right? And it is through the process of that polarity that we can then create. So polarity is wonderful if it is in balance. Where we get into trouble is when we are out of balance, which is what we have been for a long time. And we are trying through this process of healing and through this process of shifting into this higher state of consciousness to bring our masculine and our feminine energy, our negative and our positive. Our, and negative is not negative as in like bad. It just is a type of polarity. It's like, pink and green. I don't want to say black and white, because it's like, think of it as just two things that are opposite each other that work together in perfect harmony. And just like singing voices that create this lovely sound when they're balanced together. But when you get one that's way out of balance, it doesn't sound so good. So harmony is what we're trying to create on earth. Balance between people, balance within ourselves, and balance between everyone. And then that is what generates that lovely love feeling that we're trying to create on earth. Yeah. So Teresa says, well, they are consistent with this same message expressed in many different ways, the same message coming through multiple channels. So true. And I really feel like that is like truth. We feel it like it's coming through in so many different ways. Each time we hear it, it's so important because it lands in a way that it sinks in a little bit deeper. You know what I mean? Or it gives us just a slightly different perspective on it. And it just makes it more and more real for us, because we have to internalize it to such a degree that we can then act on it and make it real in our reality, because we are the creators. So it's just, I think they're trying to help us in every way they possibly can. Sandy says, a month ago, I had a very vivid dream where 3 tornadoes came and destroyed my neighborhood with fire as well. But after the storm passed, everyone was happy and we all were together building everything back up. It was very weird because it was so vivid, but I did not feel any fear in the process at all. So fantastic. So tornadoes in a dream are going to be about your emotions. So I think the dream is showing you not to fear your emotions. So showing you that after it passes, if you let it move through, then everything is fine. Right? And not to fear the emotion. So it's just a perfect that you shared that here. So, cause it's a message from your higher self showing and confirming all of this. Yeah. That it is safe to feel your feelings. Beautiful. Rebecca says, I wonder if it is the rebuilders or the new builders, because I wonder if we are creating from the old or creating something new. Thank you. Yeah. New builders is that's a great catch there. We are not rebuilding, because that would be rebuilding the old. We are the new builders. We're new creators. Perfect. Lisa said, hello, everyone. Sending beautiful Carolina sunshine from Greensboro. Welcome, Lisa. Shady says, oh, how wonderful that will be. Yes, it will. She says, G2 is, G2G is, this is so great. Oh, gotta go. Okay. I have to listen to the rest later. Thanks so much for joining us. And then, where I just lost a piece. Let's see, here we go. There we go. Jean says, I'm already loud. In a beautiful way, Jean. Marjorie says, fear can drag you down. Yes, absolutely. Rebecca says, the idea that everyone else's needs bring a being of service is no longer the way. We need to be in love for our own transformation, our own divinity. Absolutely. And that is the key, right? We have to love ourselves first. All of you is sacred and loved. Amazing. Yes. Em says, I cannot wait for that. Me too. Amina says, OMG, soul convergence touches us so deeply down and brings up all the pain, shame, rejection, and then shows us we are love just as we are. Absolutely. Thank you for me. Thank you, Amina. Sue says, hello from Canada. Rodney says, where we go? Late hello from Mexico. Thanks for joining us, Rodney. You can catch the whole thing later if you want in the recording. It'll be there. Rebecca says, it's a good possibility. Yep. In terms of the Zeke heist, it would be very cool to check it out. Urs says, we have to choose to either transmute any emotion that comes up, deeply feel it and let it go, or we can store it for later. Yep. If we store it for later, it will have to come up again, and we rob ourselves the time to reprocess it later instead of using that time to build our new future in the moment. Beautifully said. I so agree with you. Yeah. Sandy says, oh, wow. Thank you. Yes. Says, Matis showed us to use that fear and anger to turn it into a tornado around ourselves, pure energy, and use that energy to create what aligns most with us. That's a beautiful way to put it to use, because it is a lot of energy for sure. Lisa says, thank you. This is my first time to join the live in the group. I usually watch on YouTube. You've been a lifesaver. Oh, thank you so much. Helping me not to lose my every love and mind during this ascension. Thank you, Lisa. You guys, awesome to spend the time with you. Thank you so much for sharing the message with me. And we always come to new insights when we share it together. So thank you. Thank you very much for holding the energy. Sending you guys tons of love. Have a fabulous rest of your weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Bye, you guys.